So the Atlantic has this database thing where you can search to see if Meta used your material, if you're an author, writer, researcher, just anyone who has published anything. The Atlantic has this page where you can go on and search to see if, one, your work was on the pirated database, and two, if Meta used it to train their AI. They also had a separate article entitled The Unbelievable Scale of AI's Pirated Books Problem. You'll find links to these articles from the writers at The Atlantic. I even pulled a cover from The Guardian, where popular author Richard Osman urged writers to have a good go at Meta over breaches of copyright. Now, going back to the article, I can summarize and say that essentially Meta had reached out to, publishing houses, authors, just all the people who own the rights, the relevant contact information for these people to get permission to use their content. Meta found that it was too expensive, long story short. So they decided to turn to a pirated books website where they're just tons of millions of other works that are available on this platform. Again, I highly recommend that you head on over there. We've seen authors sharing that they're discovering that their work was on this database, that Meta has used it. Again, from the article I've gathered, Meta knew exactly what they were doing. And yeah, they didn't want to pay for the rights. So they went to this website, pirated the information to train their AI. I mean, it's quite damning to find out this is what Meta is resorting to. But again, we can't trust billionaires to do the right thing. Fran, what was your thought on seeing authors share that they discovered their works are on this, but also just on the principle that this is what Meta did?
The first thing actually that stood out to me is the fact that I didn't even think about pirated books in the context of how they could be used by, obviously we think pirated books and a person downloading it and reading it without paying. And it never crossed my mind that a big corporation that is developing and training an AI model could just use that. Like that was never even a thought for me. And that was kind of like a wake-up call, because there's so much material that, yes, it is copyrighted material and you can put all the disclosures and the whatevers, but that could still always be used for training an AI model against your wishes. And there's very little regulation, I feel, right now. Everything is very murky and gray area. And I feel like that leads to, like, for example, in this case, yes, you can have a go at it and try to sue them. But honestly, besides the fact that they are pirated books, so you can get them on that, but I don't know if you can get them on the AI thing, because it's still so early in the regulation. I don't think we're moving fast enough in regulating how AI is trained and how AI is used. So both sides of the equation. So I think it's such a bad place to be. And I don't think that the powers that be are moving fast enough in this case. Mm-hmm. And it's just going to allow for corporations, any corporation really, because when we think of AI, we think of the big ones, but there's smaller players developing AI as well. And who knows what they're doing, because nobody's talking about it or checking them. So yeah, I think it's a big concern. That concern absolutely will always be there with those big corporations, because they do it on other aspects as well. And if you think of social media as an example, because basically I always see those two as parallels, right? What have been the regulations of the social media industry? I feel like AI industry will go kind of the same way. There's very little movement and regulation. There's nothing proactive protecting the consumer. And in this case, protecting the artist. So I think that this is going to be bad all around. I feel very bad for the authors, because I'm not a lawyer, but I know there's very little regulation on AI. So I hope that they're able to get something. But at the end of the day, that AI was trained.
It's done. I think it's one of those things where the bell has been rung and you can't unrung the bell. We'd love to hear from you. So if you're watching us live, let us know your thoughts in the comments on Meta essentially using a pirated books website to use all the material there to train its AI. Of course, we have popular authors calling on their fellow authors to go at Meta, sue Meta, and just, kind of try and get some recourse. But again, based on the reporting from The Atlantic, Meta already knew what it was
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
and this was a conscious choice. I am going to echo what Francesca was saying in that regulation is very slow with this. I still feel we should have so much more regulation as it relates to social media. Social media has been out for a hot minute and we're still behind on that. So the fact that we haven't caught up with social media, I don't really have that much hope for AI.
Yeah.
Again, not an attorney. I have no idea. But I do know that copyright law is very subjective, extensive, and it also requires a lot of money, right? It's a federal situation. So I know from experience talking to attorneys in my own business is that anything copyright related is federal. It's a lot of money. It takes a lot of time. And also, again, it's one of those things that's just very subjective in law. So there's lots and lots of barriers that authors, I think, are going to have to cross. But hello, Congress, do something. We need laws and regulation as it relates to AI. But again, if you're watching us live, let us know your thoughts in the comments on just Meta, AI, pirated books, and what authors can do. Replay crew, we haven't forgotten about you. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well.